Last week was really inspiring. For those of you that were not on the call last week and have not met me, I am Beth. I am the Executive Director of Artown. And we're so grateful to have all of you here with us to chat through how we're going to change Artown. We're certainly not going to cancel Artown. We're going to change it to how it could be in this time. And we all have to reinvent the wheel, which is what all of you as creators and artists are so great at doing, is now we get to be the experimenters of creating art in a pandemic. So with that, I know we're going to keep this to an hour, and we really want to have all your comments, and we have lots to chat about. And so I am just going to turn this over to Oliver. And I know Raquel, let me first turn this to Raquel. You can talk about the Google, whatever that thing is.
Oh yeah, I invited you all to join a Google group so you can communicate with each other if you have any questions or need resources. Hopefully you all got that.
And the purpose is really, we will still communicate to you through MailChimp and through an email. But if you want to chat amongst yourself and build some sort of a network or a collaboration with somebody else, you have the availability to do that within your own group. Raquel, can everybody see who the other members of the group are?
Yeah, they only if they post in the group, but yeah, they can see who's talking.
Okay, so that'll be a way for all of you to communicate with each other outside of the Zoom meeting. And see what kind of collaborations you can build. And if you're having a hard time reaching anyone, you can certainly contact us and we can connect you personally with that artist or that entity, whoever had something that you wanted to work with. So, okay, let's turn this over to Oliver.
Hey folks, thanks everybody for being here. Did you all get the information from Raquel that came from Artown this week, probably today, or it went out last night? About that the portal is open now for your updates and upgrades and any COVID inspired modifications that you'll need to make. You'll notice that your event status is open, and then we did get a handful in the last 24 hours, and I will say that neither of those, none of the ones I read actually had any modifications listed in their long descriptions. So that's what we really want you to do. We want you to communicate to us, not just check box number 4, saying that yes, you're going to conform with, the governor's phase 1 reopening protocols, but to explain what that looks like for your event specifically. Because some of you had events where there was going to be a vendor or something. So now that vendor would have to then, if he or she is in your downline, will have to exercise best practices for hygiene and social distancing, safety, etc. You will as well as presenters. So we want you to detail that in your long description and not just check box 4 and send it back, because ultimately we need to really be assured that you have a grasp and can execute those protocols. And that's really all that I've seen thus far. How are people doing with making those modifications? Maybe we can get some, a survey and some input from folks on that.
Yeah, if you want to speak, just you can go to where it says. Where do you go to, Raquel? I think you go to.
Is it reactions? Is that one? Where to raise your hand?
Participants, and then you'll get the side window to raise hand.
Oh, the participants. There you go. When you go to participants, just raise your hand, and then I will call on you to speak. And we'd love to hear from everyone and what you're doing, what you're planning, who you need to partner with, and how we can connect you with the appropriate person. If you wanted to do a project and you needed musicians, or if whatever you need, how can we all help each other? Eileen Fuller wants to speak. Let's start with you.
Okay.
Oops. Go ahead.
Okay, so I went into delete a reception today, and it didn't look like it deleted
Ooh,
one of
okay.
our.
We can go in there. Eileen, what's your event again?
It's with the Artist Co-op Gallery.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had 2 events listed. We had a reception with food and wine, and that's canceled. And then we had an ongoing event.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
One more time. What's your title? I'm searching it by title.
The Art Co-op Gallery.
One more time. Artist
Co-op Gallery.
Okay.
You got that, Oliver?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Eileen. I'll if you want, I can definitely delete that event for you.
Okay, great.
I haven't seen it come
Emily,
up
can
yet.
you tell us, have you got any, I'm unmuting you, have you got any updates on movies in the park?
I even posted on Facebook, if anyone knew someone personally, we've gone all the way to corporate outside of Nevada level, and they're not responding to our calls or, from what I've heard, anyone's. So that's still completely up in the air. We're also talking, I think Nate is on the call as well. We're talking to the board tonight about considering doing a virtual version where we have the actors from the films do a virtual panel possibly. And then of course there's parking lots. So we're still just trying to put a formula together that might be successful at this point.
So you could actually do your own drive-in movie in a parking lot?
We could, liability-wise. A screen is incredibly expensive, and we'd need a wall that it would directly mount on so that we don't, I talked with Mark Simon so that the wind doesn't risk it being blown over because we don't have like a structure protecting it. So that presents a different challenge, but it is a possibility, but it's not guaranteed yet.
Okay, all right, well, keep us updated and let us know how we can help.
Perfect, thank you.
Let's ask a couple questions here. Hal Slovic, what are you doing for yours? Hold on, let me unmute you. Or you can unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
I'm unmuted, yes. No, I'm just participating today to find out what the general thinking is, because I don't think I can do what I did last year, which is to invite the public into my gallery, in-home gallery. But I'm open to other suggestions or ideas how to participate.
Hal, you have it looks like you have some space outside for in the garden area,
Right.
in the back area of your house.
Right.
That could be, you could do an easel show there, or you could do podium mounted displays and have just people pass through. And maybe maybe with social distancing, you could put down 6-foot markers on the ground on where people could view, experience the art, and still do that safely.
Right. Okay, that is a good idea. That's one idea. I like that.
You have great space back there. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think it should be outdoors. There'd be less
Right.
tripping hazards. I was worried about people managing your stairs last year.
Right. Nothing happened, but yeah.
Yes, you did good.
Something to think of. Yeah.
But yeah, I think outdoors will work for you. You have a nice shaded area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice.
I don't know if we have any, thank you so much, Hal. I don't know if we have any musicians on the call, but I was thinking about, is there any opportunity for garage, or not garage, driveway concerts or cul-de-sac concerts, or I saw a great thing on, it came across on Facebook where Colin Ross was performing on a portable keyboard outside of an assisted living place. So everybody could open their windows and hear the music. And I just thought that was a really great idea. And how could that translate into different similar kinds of performances, but in different places, where artists could be doing their work outdoors and could be seen or heard by people in surrounding buildings. So I just thought I would plant that little seed. I don't think Colin's on the call, but it really looked very, very effective.
Mhm.
So those are a couple of ideas that I was thinking about during the week. And even if it's not something on you in your genre, if you think of an idea, please share it on this in this space. I think it would be really valuable to all of our partners who are here with us today. And so I'd love to hear, Janet, have you had any grand ideas since we last spoke? Janet with Sierra Schools.
Hi there, everyone. Have you thought about having concerts on balconies downtown by the river?
Yeah, Stuart, our videographer, mentioned violin players on balconies at the Montage on that Sierra facing side of that elevation. So people are going to get creative, and I think that's a great way, definitely.
How do you feel about using the steps of the Lear? That's something that we were thinking about doing in our planning of using the outdoor space of the Lear. I don't know what the liabilities are and all that, but that occurs to me as far as music.
That is definitely something that we can chat about. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's doable.
As far as performing arts, I'm working on thinking about a combination of a virtual and video presentation performance. So I guess we can talk offline about that if that's a possibility.
Yeah, and if there's anybody that you wanted to hear, Julie Holloman wants to join in this conversation. Can you unmute yourself, or do you want me to do that for you? There you go. Go for it.
I'm the director of the ARIA School of Music, and we have done a ukulele concert every year with one of our groups, which is a rather large group. We were planning to change what we do to recording our individuals doing their parts and then putting that together for a recorded concert. So we would be interested in working with you at CRS School. Plus, we also have a trio that is part of the Pioneer Center Youth Program that we might be able to do a balcony concert or a driveway concert or something like that. We would be happy to do something like that as well. So, and if you need musicians, yeah, we love it.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Let's see, I want to hear from everybody. I'm sure we all want to hear from everybody who's on the call. I'm trying to see. It's hard to see all these little boxes. Who's there? Anybody want to speak? Just wave your hand, either physically or let's get an update from Alexis on what's going on at the city.
Yeah. That's like Roger wants to talk.
Who does?
Roger Skyme.
Okay, can you?
He's muted.
There we go.
No, I'm trying to.
Now he's unmuted.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. A couple of things regarding outside concerts that you were just talking about. Last week, Cat Hart, I live right next to Renown. And last week, Cat Hart did a live streaming concert right in front of the Love sculpture. Or maybe it was the week before. And that might be a good place to maybe do one of those outside concerts that you were talking about. But primarily what I wanted to suggest was last week somebody talked about a dance performance. And they were talking about using an LED projector to project it on the side of a building.
Right.
I was wondering if it would be possible to get some additional LED projectors, have performers such as myself. I'm a musician. I'm scheduled for July 17th, God willing. And maybe projecting some of the live performances, or maybe even some of the taped performances and just keep them going This way, people don't have to log into artown.com or artown.org, whatever it is, in order to know what's going on. They walk by, they see something happening on the side of a building, and all of a sudden they know that it's Artown. Now, it would require picking up some additional LED projectors, and I'm sure that there are places that would be more than happy to donate them, and also getting permission or scouting locations where these could be projected on the sides of buildings. That's my thought, 2 thoughts.
Yeah, great ideas. If you can think of, or we could think of where we could get donated projectors and who would run them, that's part of the equation as well, is we need somebody who's going to run them while it's going. And does it also require amplified music? I mean, if it's dance, you of course always want to have the amplified music around it, and of course with music as well. So it would require those sort of things to happen.
It would. I think UNR might be a good resource for the projectors.
And just to let you know, that performance outside by the Love Sculpture was really problematic for the hospital, because there really is no power at the Love Sculpture. There is one little outlet for the power for love itself, and there's one other outlet which they used, and it sort of worked, but it sort of didn't work. So if you have a way of doing it without using electricity, that is really would be preferred at the Love Sculpture, because that was quite problematic for the hospital.
I have all battery powered material, so I could do it without a problem. If anybody else wanted to do it, because I do a lot of busking down by the river, and I have a battery powered PA system and everything else, but that's just me. Insofar as anybody else doing it, I don't know. I think the folks over at Rue, that restaurant over on Mount Rose in Virginia, I think they were the ones who organized. Rue Bourbon, right? I think they're the ones who organized it. So they might be the ones to contact, and I can give them a holler.
Okay, great. Thank you. I see Eileen wants to speak.
Hi, I'm Eileen, number 2.
Hi, Eileen.
I'm with the Osher Lifelong Institute, Learning Institute. Hi, Oliver.
Hey,
Roger is one of our performers that we have scheduled. We have 3 others. Our building is going to be closed at least through July. So we're looking to partner with you guys. We've been in touch with Raquel. Thank you so much, Raquel. Hopefully we can work something out with YouTube and do some pre-recorded performances. I was wondering, I believe it was a dance company that was at the meeting last week who mentioned the projecting images and music onto a building. Has anybody been in touch with her? I don't know who that was, or did she have any ideas about what building might be used and how that would work?
I believe the dance company was not the person who would do the projection. Oliver, do you remember who that
Yeah, I remember her. I can get you all connected. I'm not sure if she signed up for the Google group, but we can message her based on her event and connect you to her. That was a very innovative plan B option for people. Again, these projectors are pretty hardy, but they're pretty bright. So, and they're pretty hard to secure. I think she was actually still in the process of securing the appropriate projectors for her use. But she seemed agreeable and approachable to ideas and collaboration. So we'll get that going, definitely.
And would those events be pre-recorded or live streamed?
I think primarily they could be pre-recorded, but based on her availability, she'd have to be part of your event to do it live. That might be logistically challenging. Might be better to tape something and give it to her.
Right, I agree. Thank you.
No.
Okay, I'm going to ask, I see Cliff Porter wants to speak.
Hello.
Hey, Cliff.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
So, about the projectors real quick. I know Star Sound Audio does a lot of projection rentals.
Yeah.
And so they are back open. So, whew, I was running upstairs when she said my name. So excuse me. So they might be one to look to as far as renting projectors and maybe having them on standby. My question was, I was planning an event for the new Sparks Outdoor Amphitheater, the Nugget Amphitheater, and I'm assuming that's not going to happen. So I'm looking at Plan B right now, is doing an outdoor concert at my brother's barbershop. So, which is on Rock Boulevard. It's in a like a shopping center with Chuck's Boulevard Pizza and nail salon and some other businesses in that area. And so I'm thinking about doing a live stream from there. I mean, I've been doing live stream concerts from my house and from his barbershop actually when it was closed. We set up a couple times inside the shop. And so that's my idea. I just don't know now, you know, with everything going on. That's why I joined the meeting today. I missed last week, so I didn't know the update. So, just if you guys have any insight, if that's a good idea or if I should proceed with that or whatnot.
I think so. You would do the performance outside the barbershop and then stream it. Is that what you're saying? So you would have two elements. You'd have the live performance and you would have it streamed.
Yes.
You know, as long as it's not, as long as the protocol is taken into account with when people gather, that they're not sort of sitting on top, you know, right next to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it's a
that's
great
what I'm
idea.
thinking. I'm thinking of doing it. I'm gonna rent a stage from Star Sound, and then I'll set like part of the parking lot up to where only a certain amount of people can do the distancing thing to where it can actually still be an audience. And then, because like Chuck's Boulevard Pizza is open for business, so doing it there would also draw business for them. They're a local establishment, and it's part of what I'm trying to do is help the local. And it would be my band Jelly Bread as far as my other project, Full Blast.
I love the way you're thinking to include other businesses so that they draw people and you draw people. And I think the hardest part is just, the hardest part would be for me, would be the whole making sure that there's the social distancing and all the rules and regulations are in place. I think that's the hardest thing. Otherwise, I think your idea is absolutely brilliant.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'll
adhere to all the guidelines I can and you know, proceed with it.
And Cliff, just a reminder, Jim Freeman, our webmaster, gave us a reminder, an update saying that while your status is open, you can make adjustments until you press submit. After you submit, you can't then delete your event. So, you know, be sure that when you update your event in your long description on your portal, go ahead and say the things that you imagined yourself doing to ensure the public safety, and put that in. You do have some space. I think there's over 500 characters for that type of info.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you. Great. Very innovative. Thank you very much. I'm now going to turn to Kevin. Kevin C.
Thank you. While my particular group is made up primarily of all the at-risk folks in the city of Reno, we're probably not going to be performing, but I reached out to Raquel last week. My other mild-mannered life is at the Peppermill, where I'm an audiovisual technician. And once we get permission to open, we have a rental stock of projectors and other equipment that is available. I'm not sure what our ownership is going to want to do as far as donations, since we've been closed for the last 2 months, but just an added resource. I had suggested in an email to Raquel to do anything indoors with social distancing is going to require some very large spaces. And I am going to wager a pretty good bet that our largest ballrooms are going to be empty in the middle of July. So a reception in the Tuscany Ballroom might be a possibility where several smaller groups can get together in one event, in one place, which would help, as you said, bring people into a local establishment, and perhaps help some of our local establishments figure out how we're going to do receptions with social distancing and all the lovely COVID protocols that are now going to be incumbent upon everybody in hospitality.
It's a great resource, Kevin. Kevin, what's your event again?
Well, our event was going to be the Sierra High Notes.
Okay.
There's no biz like showbiz. It was in Wingfield Park on the 5th.
And then I saw Sierra High Notes also at the airport as well.
At the airport. I don't think in either case we're going to be able to do that for basically for the fact that my group is at risk.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't see my group getting together in performance mode again until there's a vaccine in place.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's hard. I was going to ask Donald as well from one of the choral groups how they're actually able to rehearse and even practice.
Yeah,
because the exhalation creates an aerosol.
Exactly.
It's hard.
Exactly. Oliver, you're right on.
Yeah.
I'm in constant touch with my group here at Sierra Canyon, which none of you know about, but I've been involved with them for like 13 years, and our lodge is still closed in our community. So even with social distancing and they open the lodge up, without exhaling, how do you get a singers group that's 6 feet apart, each member is 6 feet apart, and are we going to sing with masks? That can cloud our voices, of course, and then how do you work with the audience? There's a lot of stuff that we're still thinking about. I'm open to all suggestions. I'm not giving up, but I'm waiting for more news to come off from our board of directors and, of course, the directives from the state and the federal government to see how and if. But we've been not rehearsing for the past 2 months, and we're not prepared for our June shows.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want me to, I'll stop now because I have some other questions to ask later, but my comments to you, Oliver, yeah, that's where we're sitting at right now. We're kind of stuck, but I'm looking for options. So
well, we definitely want to make sure that at-risk groups, if they are inclined, go ahead and make something, try at least to do something in a group where you have a simulcast and everybody's doing it virtually. I think you've all seen these Zoom performances. That might be the best way to do it. And then we can archive that for later viewing if you want. We can work with you as well. Or smaller groups that can do social distancing. It is a challenge, and you're literally, it's a big risk to do. And I understand the hesitance that people have towards even approaching it.
Good point, Oliver. I mean, I love technology now, what we're able to do. I love those videos. You've seen the Couch Choir, I'm sure most of you have. It's a great group, and how they did that, I have no clue. I can certainly find out and do some investigation. Yeah. As far as our group here, and if I may segue into the ART, the Ageless Repertory Theater, whom I represent for this meeting. We are a seasoned group, and our audience mainly is comprised of the folks from assisted living facilities around the area. This is high risk, and I'm coming to the meetings, I'm listening to you all. I haven't given up, but the president of Ageless Repertory Theater, he does want to abide by the guidelines, and he's really following what Melissa's saying at Reno Little Theater, which is our venue, our main venue. So we'll just see. I might plant some seeds in his mind here and there to see if we're willing as a cast and crew to do alternative forms of theater, but we're just not there yet. So I'm keeping an open mind for sure.
And folks, thanks, Donald. We're not going to rush you. You're going to have till June 30th to make alterations to your portal entries and until you can figure it out. So. And it's just going to be on the website. There won't be in a little book, so you don't have to worry about a print deadline. But do communicate with us if you're having challenges, and we can share resources with you.
Okay, we've got lots of people standing in line. So first up is Nate Ashley.
Well, hello, everyone. Hey, so Emily just talked a little bit about movies in the park. So actually, the thing I want to ask is, I don't live in Reno right now. I live in New York City, so I'm kind of in the thick of everything. I'm not quite sure what the culture is right now in Reno, or at least where sort of guidelines are exactly. So I'm asking this question with a little bit of ignorance. When it comes to potentially having a virtual performance, doing it via something like Zoom, where you could have, a multi-hour Zoom call and different performers are logging in at the right time, their set time to perform. You can do that kind of thing. You can also take that exact same feed and you could potentially broadcast it on radio, and that way people driving around their cars are now tuning into that. You could potentially do this very live performance similar to what Lady Gaga did recently on Apple. What I'm not catching is it wouldn't be difficult for us to set up a variety of projectors in key locations around the city and have those projecting the image live in real time on, say, a building or on a screen. All of those things are technologically simple to do. It's actually not hard. The question is, would you put them on a building expecting people to drive by and see it? Or are you putting it on a building for people to walk by, stand, congregate? I mean, if we create environments where people are attracted, even a balcony concert, if people are going to stand within eyesight and earshot of the balcony, that's no different than throwing them into Wingfield Park and hoping they stay away from each other. So I want to understand, is there a relaxed guideline around Reno where we would be okay people walking downtown and then stopping for an hour right next to other people? Is that a thing, or do we have to still avoid that too?
I'm actually going to call on Alexis to see if she has any input on that. Alexis, you want to weigh in a little bit?
Sure. When you first called on me, I had a huge bite of hummus, so I'm really glad that it's now time for me to talk. So we don't know where we're going to be in July. We are thinking we'll be in phase 2 in June. If we're in phase 3, there may be a little bit more flexibility for gatherings, but anything that's like city sanctioned, as in park rental, the police department has put their foot down and said, we are not permitting anything that has gathering requirements on it, because they can't go in and break up a crowd that should be 50 that's 75. They just don't have capacity to do that. And really, I don't think that that's their role as the police to do that. So we'll have to see. I really like Cliff's idea of a pop-up performance where my one concern is though the putting it on the portal, because then it's like, then people are attracted. So I think we have to think about that. But I love the idea of these like organic performances that you happen upon when you're getting your hair cut or doing your groceries or whatever the case may be. So and then on the idea of a projection art piece, as long as it doesn't need a city permit, and you're projecting on private business, and it's like an organic kind of one night only thing, I don't necessarily see any issues with that. And hopefully people follow, the rules. So of whatever the rules are in July. And so I think that's the issue, is we don't know what, and the phase 3, the governor hasn't been explicit about what the number of people in gatherings will look like. So I'm hoping when we get to phase 2, we'll get a sneak peek of we'll get a more clarity on phase 3, because we don't quite know what that is right now.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you, Alexis. But we're right now, Nate, as people make adjustments to their portals, really, it's really about sort of being able to somehow monitor the gathering so that gathering itself has social distancing. It's what venues are doing with limited capacity within their footprint, and then 6 feet of distance. And then, presenters can also suggest things like masks, and and then maybe allowing as a courtesy a viewing time and then moving on, to another event. Because there's going to be a lot of events. It's always impossible to see everything in Artown. So be mindful of that as you support one, there's another one going on that you can discover.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to Erwin.
Thanks, Beth. First of all, I look forward to meeting all of you in person at some point when we're on the other side of this, and I am, optimistic, hopeful that we will get there. I had a few things that I wanted to throw out. I'm just going to throw it all out there and then see what people have to say about it. First of all, I am pretty ignorant when it comes to the liability elements. Of course, everyone wants to be safe. We're all taking steps to do that, hence why we're here. But if anyone has any insight as to if you decide to do an event and you are trying your absolute best to adhere to all the protocols and so on and so forth, are we still opening ourselves up to liability if there is somehow somebody traces it back to your event in some form or another? Having said that, I will say that I personally, even though I am a full supporter of making sure that we are being mindful of everything in regards to spreading this disease here, that if we can find creative ways to actually have a physical event, I think we should do that because, it's shown psychologically we're social animals and we're all suffering, essentially, whether we realize it or not from this. And so every way that we can get people to a place to have responsible gatherings, I think it's in our best interest as a community to be able to do that. So although some events absolutely can't happen that way, you have to go Zoom, you have to go all virtual and so on and so forth. Even finding a marriage of those things, I think, is really important. Having said that, it was mentioned in the last meeting that maybe Artown would create its own protocols in a sense. Of course, I applaud that in certain ways, and then it is very challenging in other ways. Given potentially, say, for example, for the smaller events especially, how is it that we're all of a sudden going to bring in an extra security guard to manage this thing, to the temperature taker, for example? Just the act of doing it in itself and the actual machine, the little thing, the laser that takes somebody's temperature, that for a smaller event would be very difficult. I was thinking maybe we could have some communal efforts there, whether it be the tools themselves, or even participation in those things. If we can work together in making those things standard and protocol, then it might give more people in the latter part of the month more attendance. If they know, hey, Artown, they got their shit together and they're going to be going this route. That being said, our event is on July 2nd, right in the front there. It is, I do have a lot of latitude because it is we're doing a game show, but we can limit the audience to whatever size that is. With all the people involved in it, we can stay under 10 people as it is. Social distancing wouldn't be a problem for us, and so on and so forth. So we're gonna behave and act as if we are going to have this event. And of course, if we have to cancel at last minute, we do that. But some of the things we've thought about, like we're going to have a path that people go through, literally, like that way they're not just haphazardly getting to where they're going. They can manage themselves in the social distancing without having to congregate, if you will. We'll lead them from the front room to the back room. We're having it at the Potentialist Workshop. Many of you are familiar with the venue, so you have the gallery up front, and we'll individually lead them into the back. Our event requires partners, so we're going to require that they have, that they bring their own partners. That's the only way they'll be able to participate or play in the game. So they have someone from their household type thing in order for them to do that. Anyways, that being said, the last thing I'll throw out there before I get any responses, I feel like there's an opportunity here from all artists involved and Artown themselves to try to encourage new artists. There's so much downtime, and so many people have, you know, maybe they've never thought about playing a guitar before or painting a picture or whatever. I think that should really be our focus as a whole, is to try to get people to branch outside of their comfort zones and do things they've never done before. Because, you know, this is affecting everyone differently, and everybody's approaching it differently. There's way too many people who are just, you know, getting high and drunk and binge watching the shows and so on and so forth. There's a real opportunity for spiritual and you know, to blast forward at, you know, where they've been before in their lives. So I'll just sign off. But thank you for listening, and I'm happy to hear anything you have to say.
Yeah, I think that the power and energy of live art cannot be substituted. I agree with you on that completely. And that being said, I'm going to ask Oliver to talk about the one initiative that we do have that does involve everyone, artists or not, and that is our Artown. And Oliver always goes like this, Artown.
Yeah.
Showing your heart through your art. So you want to just tell everybody about that? Because it doesn't only have to be visual art, it can be performance art, but go for it.
Yeah, I want to pick up on what you said, Erwin, and am I pronouncing your name right?
Technically, it is Erwin.
Erwin, awesome. Erwin. Sounds Gaelic or Celtic or something. Erwin, yeah, I wanted to say that the governor requires that any protocols that you execute can exceed the government standard, but not to be under that standard. So if, you know, and plus we want people to exercise this as well, social kindness. I think people get a little bit panicky and get entitled a little bit and become like COVID police. And that's going to be a very important thing when you're managing public's expectations. Many people have been sequestered. They're technically the only quarantined people are the people who are in prison or who actually have the disease and have to quarantine themselves. But right now, people are just starting to fold back into society a little bit. And so not everybody will have everything together, but we really want the presenters to study the phase 1 protocols, knowing that there's a phase 2 coming, and knowing that you can exceed that. But in execution, just to be soft-handed on it, because we really don't want these incidences to happen in the public where you've all heard the horror stories, and you've seen the impoliteness and the rudeness and the violence too. It can be scary out there. So be mindful of that, and I know you are. But to talk about what Beth was saying, Artown has created Artown, which is really a block-by-block effort and an appeal to families, children, parents, and people of all cultures to really express, show their art, show their heart through their art, and do expressions that they can do safely and that people can drive by and see, almost like the way I'm from Southern California. Every year there's great neighborhoods in LA that have these incredible light shows. And of course, people decorate their homes during Christmas and other holidays. So we're asking people to show their art through their heart, through their art, and to do art projects, make totems, make sculpture, and really express themselves and get creative and show some solidarity as a community that is not able to commune. So art is going to be our therapy, and we're looking forward to that. So I think we probably have sent you out a description of that, but I'm happy to email out our current press release so people are abreast of what we're doing and updated fully.
And right in there, if somebody does do art in their front yard, they could do pop-up performances like Cliff was suggesting. And it doesn't have to be a professional musician like Cliff, but it could be, you know, if a family plays the ukulele, they could on a Sunday afternoon have a performance, and really grassroots at its very very best level, you know.
Particularly if the entire family is playing the one ukulele. That would be
exactly
great.
Yes. Well, that's exactly right. And so you better be there for that performance. Right? I'm going to turn this back over to Janet. She's next in line. That's you. Uh-oh. There you go.
Well, this is just kind of a little off topic, so I hope you'll indulge me for a moment. We were preparing to do Annie at the Hawkins Amphitheater in August, and I haven't given up hope, Donald. Just like you, I'm never giving up hope. But one thing we have to think about, and I'm sure this is obvious, but we were thinking, well, will audience come? What if we space them 1 seat apart at the Hawkins Amphitheater? I mean, all of these things, this perspective on audience. Well, now I'm starting to think of my actor. What is the experience like for them, 40 people backstage at the Hawkins Amphitheater? Things like that. How are people feeling on all sides of the equation and really caring for our artists? So I just wanted to kind of interject that perspective, because that's very real and very present for at least us right now, trying to think of whether to move forward with a big Broadway classic musical. The audience is going to want it. They're going to love it. They're going to need it. The healing, everything, kids, adults, we have, all age ranges in our shows. But what about those at-risk people, and how comfortable are they feeling being on head microphones, not in masks, gathered around a mic backstage for our off-stage backup chorus, things like that, being in close quarters, those things we have to think about. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
I think that the protocol for the audience has to be the same protocol backstage. You can't have this many people around a microphone. I think that the protocol has to be across the board.
Right.
And it has to be very much, it's like you think of an orchestra. There's no way wind instruments can be played, because there's a lot of, of spit going on, and that's just not good for anyone.
Yeah.
So
but we have to expect, what's it going to be like in August? Who knows?
You don't know. We still don't know what it's going to be like in July, really, but we just know that we have to act proactively and make the change to create something that our artists need and something that our community needs, because we all need it right now. And I'm going to go back to Cliff.
Unmute yourself.
There you go.
So I just wanted to let everybody know that as far as there was a guy talking earlier about rehearsing and stuff with his band and not being able to. I use this app. It's called Switcher Studio, and I'd be willing to. You can actually set up your band in completely different rooms and video and headphones, and have a very successful rehearsal. So for any bands or any artists out there, anybody that wants to do anything, I do offer this service to come and set your band up. And even if you guys want to record your live performance for Artown, I'm available to do that. We can record it through Switcher and actually edit it down and add all kind of stuff. It's the greatest and most simplest app I've ever found, and it works great. You can also, that's what I live stream to Facebook and to YouTube with. So whenever I'm streaming, that's what I'm going through. I'm going through this app called Switcher, and you can see the live comments and everything, or you can record it and then post it to Facebook or whatever platform you want to later. So just wanted to let everybody know that. I'll text my email address in the comments if you guys want to hit me up, or you can find me on Facebook or anything like that, and I'm here to help in any way that I can.
And I think Raquel, is Cliff part of the Google groups?
If he was on our presenter email list, but I can check.
You could check, because then if you're on the Google group, you could just send that out.
Oh yeah, just do it in there. Okay. Yeah. Definitely.
That, and Cliff, if you see the notes, enable your chat. Just click on that and put your contact info in the real-time chat. And I think Janet wants to connect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's great.
Thank you. Raquel.
I was raising my hand for Pam.
Oh. Pam? I'm going to unmute Pam. Pam?
Thanks. I was just trying to figure out how to do that. I'm with one of the visual arts events in there's Diverse Perspectives, which I represent, and then there's a couple of other ones, Art in the Garden and Yard. And I was thinking to be handy for me to coordinate with the people in charge of those other two to see what they're doing, but I don't know who they are. I think they're both part of Artown. So is there some way that I could find out who they are so I can get in touch with them?
Sure. I mean, you're talking about the ones who did it last year?
They've done it for several years. Yeah. One of them's called Art in the Garden and one's called Yard, and they're both in my neighborhood. And so we all do it on the same day, and people go, the visitors go to all three of them. And I think it'd be really handy for us to all have similar communication to our guests and similar protocols as far as safety and stuff. So I think it'd be helpful if to communicate with them, but I don't know who they are.
Well, and I'm looking at last year's little book, which we had last year. We won't have this year, but there are several of you guys that do this Day of Visual Arts, the second Saturday of July.
Right.
So Raquel, Oliver, is there a way we can get Pam to know who those people are?
Yeah, I can. I'll reach out, Pam. Put your email up and your event ID up here on the Zoom chat, and I'll grab that and be able to connect you with other people who presented last year during the weekend of visual art.
Okay, that'd be really great. And another question, assuming that we all choose to go forward with the visual art weekend, will we be able to get some sort of special promotion for all of us as a group through Artown?
It's already happening. I put you all in the press release that has gone out, and that went to the AP Wire, and the AP will probably, hopefully they pick it up nationally. But I certainly will. Let's first off, let's get the group together, and maybe you can give me some information about what your days look like, what your visual art's going to be, and we could put some more detail to that.
That would be so awesome. Yep. That would be great. I just wanted to make one other comment, and that was with regard to the liability. I always take out event coverage because the event takes place in my backyard. So I take out event coverage. And when I looked on their website just a couple days ago, they didn't have anything special about COVID. I didn't have to pay any more about it. It's called Event Manager. I think they're in California. But so they didn't say anything different about it. But what I was thinking is, because that was a really good point that you brought up. What I was thinking is perhaps putting some sort of a liability disclaimer out at our entrances and also on our website, just to protect us a little bit, as well as we're going to have volunteers helping to remind people of social distancing and things like that. We're going to have a whole protocol involved with that. But I was just thought a liability disclaimer might help us.
And I don't see Alexis on the call anymore, but I think that'd be a really good question to ask. I see Francine. Maybe she knows, because she's with the government agency, if putting a sign like that outside your event is worthy. Francine?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it. The feedback that both Alexis and I have both gotten from our police departments is that they're not actively enforcing social distancing rules. So it's really up to you as a producer to keep your people safe by doing your own kind of enforcement.
Yeah. Super. Thank you very much. And one final question. I know I tried to get on the Outlook group when you guys first put your listserv together, but I don't know anything about this Google group. Raquel, can I get into it somehow?
Yeah, do you want to just type your email into the chat and I'll just make sure you're there, and if not, I'll resend it.
Okay, thank you so much. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. I have some more speakers. Eileen Bidwell would like to speak, and she is unmuted.
Thank you. I have another question for some of the technical experts. One of our performances, it's a jazz and world music. That the couple that's doing that, Dallas Smith and Susan Mazer, they have their own recording studio, so they will no doubt probably do a recorded performance from their studio. And then Doug Mishler, who's doing a Picasso Chautauqua performance, he has a little theater in Sparks, Restless Artists, so he may actually perform at the theater just himself, nobody else. My question is, if these performers or any of our performers perform in their space, wherever that's going to be, can one of us from our organization at another location be able to introduce that performer and just to let people know that this is an OLLI sponsored event?
Yes, you can do that maybe through a Facebook Live, and pointing people to the URL of the live or archived performance. If it's archived, which I recommend with respect to the Picasso Chautauqua, because he won't need an audience, and then he can just send in, and then we could, on the day that he was planning to do that with live audiences, we can show it on that broadcast date and time on our YouTube channel, if you give us the link.
Okay, I will write to you so you can explain that to me in writing.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. I am going to ask Lindsay to chat, and I'm trying to unmute you, Lindsay.
I'm
Okay,
good.
perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. So Keep Turkey Meadows Beautiful is still hoping that we'll be able to do our event live because we're in the sensory garden, and we usually only have about 25 people total. So we're hoping that we can maybe schedule that. So still in the thinking process. But I was just thinking about the Artown event and everybody doing things, maybe putting sculpture or in their own yards or whatever. Is there some way that we can pull those people together with a symbol or a sign that they could put next to their thing in their yard so that you know that that's why it's there? Just kind of as a way of bringing the community together. Look at all these people who are doing something for this.
Go ahead,
Yeah, we definitely want to have definitely the Artown logo for sure.
Yeah.
The Artown logo, and if people are legitimately a part of the project, we are, and I'm going to segue to Jim in a minute, but Oliver, tell me if I'm right or wrong. We want to be able to have a map so that if you are an Artown event in your front yard, there could be a map where people could say, well, I'd like to go to the 89503 area. I wonder where I should drive around and see these projects, or 89506, or whatever neighborhood. And so, right, Oliver, that's really the idea, is to really make it as interactive as possible, interactive in the way that we will be interactive in July anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in Jim's court. I think he can answer more effectively than myself. He's building that component.
Yeah, this is actually something that we had talked about, and it's something Oliver, Beth, and I need to nail out the details. But we had talked about a way where people could submit a small yard presentation, or it doesn't even have to be a yard, it could be a business. And then we could put POIs on a map, and somebody could either print out a list and do a drive-by or look at it on their phone. But we could easily take addresses and put POIs on a map and then present people with a driving route opportunity to view the different art.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, or because sometimes it may not be there all the time. If they're going to do their driveway music, they might only do it Sunday afternoon or, Thursday night.
We want to, part of the promotion of it is really the word of mouth that we want to spread now. Here we are, 6 weeks or so before July 1. So use the hashtag Artown, HEARTOWN, And then, you know, any heart sign in a yard, we're going to go claim it as ours anyway, because that's what Heart Towns is about. So, but yeah, any expression of art from your heart, any physical totem or creation of art is going to be included, and we'll want to find those, and we have a team once a week that's going to go out and shoot those and live stream those.
Okay,
So
great. You're all over it.
Yeah, there'll be some inclusion, but we want, you know, it's going to be an ambitious project. It is going to be citywide, and we're sort of gathering donations as well for art supplies. So that's on the way.
Yeah, and we are also going to be including Sparks in this. So
Yeah.
I've spoken to Francine about that. So really making sure that it also goes out into Sparks, and maybe we give them, well, we put an Artown logo in their front yard, and maybe we give them some sort of heart as well to show them love. So it's beyond Artown, it's Artown and Hearttown. It's all of it together. But all of that stuff we're working out internally, as you can imagine. We're also working very hard to get art supplies donated. We want to make sure that we are very inclusive, and we want to make art supplies available for people who don't or aren't able to, or don't have art supplies and aren't able to purchase art supplies. And, you know, what does that look like to them? Is it yard art, or, you know, and so Raquel's working diligently to see how we can secure art supplies so that everybody in the community can be involved. And in a way, it's really going to expand Artown's footprint. We keep expanding our footprint into different venues. Now we're expanding Artown's footprint throughout the community and in sort of residential. And it's you know, out of all this, I really think that something beautiful is going to emerge. I don't know what it is, but new art forms are going to emerge. New relationships among our artists are going to be found. And I think we have to look for all that beauty that's going to, or that those incredible moments, those nuggets that are going to come out of all of this very unfortunate time. Yeah. Jim, is there anything else you'd like to add? You left here last week with a laundry list of things to do. Oh, you muted Jim. Jim is our IT guy. So not our IT guy, web guy.
Doing the web part of it. So far, we've only had 12 people kind of re-log into the portal since May 1st. And we need all the presenters to log in and resubmit their presentations. There's some other things that I need to talk to you guys, but as far as the portal, it is open. If you want to log in and delete an event, just log into the portal. The delete button will be there because they are currently all open. If you have changes to your presentation, update them. Maybe you have mask restrictions or whatever the COVID protocols are, and simply go through the 4 pages. There's a new checkbox to comply with the COVID guidelines that Oliver has come up with. And then those events will get published onto Artown's website pretty much right away.
Yeah.
We want to get this out to the public and let them know that we are moving forward. So once you resubmit and it's approved, it will be live to the public as of right now.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Very well said.
Thank you, Jim. So I have another idea for all of our theater people. I see that we've got some of our theater partners on this call. 100 years ago, when I was growing up in South Africa, in order to pay the bills, we didn't have television in South Africa, and we did a ton of radio work, and you know, radio theater was very big. And I wonder if there's an opportunity for our theater people to really get into the world of radio theater and make that a significant part of theater, the theater genre at Artown, because I think radio theater is very exciting. It's theater of the mind, it's all that stuff, but it really creates an opportunity for our artists to learn a different art form, because it's different than just theater. It's a different art form. So anybody have any ideas on that?
Yeah, I think that K-Wink and outlets like community stations like America Matters Media would be approachable to these ideas
Wow.
of maybe even simulcasting. And Nate, you mentioned that as well. Talk about that. Nate Ashley.
Sorry, you want me to talk about what? Just the concept of it, or?
Well, yeah, or maybe a practical application in this market. I know you're in New York.
Yeah, no, I was simply brainstorming ideas. I think the key there is that there's an understanding that we don't want people on a sidewalk congregating, looking at a wall, projecting something. And I thought, well, whatever we do, the production of that content can easily be done remotely. One way to deliver that content then would be potentially through what you basically just said, a simulcast.
You're gone. Your sound is gone, Nate.
Nate, pick up your.
We can't hear you.
Lost your inline.
Well, let's see if we can hear from Chris Daniels or Joe Atack. They're both theater guys, and they're on this call.
Yeah. Joe, you there, or Chris? Hey, I see you.
Hello, everyone. Regarding doing radio plays, I think it's certainly a possibility. You know, the tricky thing with anything really moving forward is, from a business point of view, how do we make it really work? So, yeah. In terms of how, even though this is not really so much an artistic question, but really is more of a business point of view, is how do you monetize something like that in a way that you can actually support doing it? You know, so I'd be open to exploring the idea, but I would also want to try and figure out in what way that would move us forward as an organization through this. That's sort of one of the things I think we're trying to balance at the moment, is how do we navigate the complicated financial situation and still move forward with the idea of presenting possible feasible performance options. I think in terms of our live theater, it's very, very complicated, at least for us, in terms of audience, in terms of artists. We know that a lot of theaters are ruling out doing any musical theater until 2021 because singing in particular causes a whole bunch of issues. So, you know, for our fall programming, that has ramifications for us. And I think we all have to try and be creative, and we also have to be mindful of the fact that we are live performance organizations, and how all of us switching to online work creates a kind of fatigue amongst our audience.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we best engage and collaborate with one another as artistic partners to stay financially soluble, that's not the word, financially viable, and artistically creative and innovative in all this.
Good, very good points. And I know Melissa wants to weigh in on that as well.
I actually had a separate question, so I don't know if there's anybody else who wants to contribute to that question.
Go ahead.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, so I represent Reno Food Systems. We do Garlic Fest, and we of course have canceled that event in its last form, which was in a park with about 4,000 people. We're looking at different options, doing an online store, doing a walkthrough event at our farm. Yes, and I guess I was curious if there were any other large group, like festival type folks on the call, and what they are doing to recreate themselves.
Anybody?
I think what we've found is you've just got to keep the conversation going, and then something emerges out of it, and continue to see how to navigate those waters. And yeah, it's very complicated, and I understand the whole piece about you know, the financial piece, and that's really, really complicated right now. I do have some applications out to see if there's any way Artown can, we're not a funding organization. We never fund, but I have some applications out to see if there's any way we could get any kind of funds to help all of you with your projects. And I certainly say that very hesitantly because I don't know if it's going to come to fruition, but I am trying. So I want you to know that. But I only have the money when I have the money, if I can raise it.
Beth, Gina Hill, in response to the radio idea, says, we've been doing radio theater in Carson City at Brewery Arts Center through our community radio station KNVC, and they did War of the Worlds in November. So check out KNVC, check out Paywink, and check out America Matters Media. If you want contacts, reach out to me, Oliver@artown.org. I can put you in touch with those representatives.
Okay, Gina's just unmuted herself. So Gina, do you have something to add?
I don't. I was doing that in case I was going to be asked anything. But yeah, we are still waiting to make any kind of announcements. We do a 10-week summer concert series. Obviously, the ones in July have been part of Artown, and we had moved the series to start July 11th and go through September 12th. Obviously, we don't know if that's going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. We realize that. We have been getting funds to do certain projects that a lot of you may be really interested in. One of them will be a flatbed concert through the neighborhoods. We're going to put a band on a flatbed truck and let the neighborhoods know they can come out to their lawns and sit and enjoy, and as we serve those neighborhoods. We're doing mural walls, community mural walls, and we're just trying, like the rest of you, to create a sense of community through art in this time.
I love the idea of the flatbed concert, as long as nobody falls off. You've got a whole different problem.
We go real slow. We have a sponsor for that. So that's
fantastic. That's a great idea. And I see, Lindsay, your hand is still raised. Is that an old raised hand or a new one?
Sorry, that's old.
That's all right. Oliver, do you have anything else?
I'm good. I think I just want to remind people to go ahead and make their COVID modified entries and go ahead and submit if you're ready and when you're ready. And then it immediately becomes live in the outward-facing artown.org website, and it'll start populating. So you'll start seeing other events coming soon. So make arrangements. Donald?
Yeah, I just privately chatted with Jim, who caught my conversation with Raquel. It's between you and Jim and Beth, of course, but if he's willing, or you or whoever else is willing to put a standardized disclaimer about COVID, then all the presenters could put that in there. And Jim's even offering maybe to even add another field so it doesn't cut into our description. Just a thought. So I'm going to hold off because I want to wait until all of your minds coalesce a little bit after this meeting. And we have until June 30th, as you said. So I'm going to keep my optimism up.
Yeah.
Gather the information from this meeting. I'm going to talk to my gang at Ages Repertory Theater. Reno Pops may be out because I'm involved with them too. But yeah, I just really appreciate all your sharing, and I love the energy here. So thank you.
Good. And Emily has something else to say. You got to unmute, darling.
Can you guys hear me? Perfect.
Yeah.
So my understanding right now is that if somebody were to go to the Artown, they would not see any of our events that we had on there because we haven't checked the box. I'm wondering, since it's going to take us a little while to make those decisions, is there a way to still be active on the site, and then once we know what we're doing, check that box? Because I have a feeling it's going to be a couple of weeks, at least on our end, for insurance changes and venue changes and all of those things to come to fruition. Meanwhile, we don't exist on the Artown site. Is that what's happening?
Jim, go ahead. Yes, basically.
You're on mute.
Unmute, Jim.
As of right now, No, any of the events that are not approved by Oliver are not on Artown's website live, and there's specific reasons for that. Oliver, if you want to talk about this after the meeting.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Oh, I do want to emphasize that we just don't want you to check the box because that says that you agree to, but it doesn't detail in your long description what those protocols are. And that's just to engender goodwill and trust amongst those who do plan on physically attending an event with social distancing, et cetera.
So if I check the box now, I can't go back in and make changes later. So for right now, we'll just be off until we are set in stone.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Oliver, is it impossible for us, since we do know that our expectation is Movies in the Park is going to happen in some manner. We just don't know exactly physically what that looks like yet. We've talked about some of those ideas today. But we therefore know the titles, and we already know some of the other elements, things like trying to put together a Q&A panel, what have you. Could we make the events live with the title and in the description explicitly state more details are coming? Could we go ahead and do it and ask for an exception through you later to be able to further edit that?
Yeah.
Jim, I think that is reasonable. I wouldn't want everyone to do that. Please don't spread that word. But I understand what you're saying, that as more information comes on your programming and becomes doable, you want to not lose that promotion and exposure time. So if you check the box and then say that in your long description that you just put in a couple cursory things that that you're going to do, like say if you do it at a drive-in, come in your car, this type of thing. However you want to start to assure people that you are doing those, I don't have a problem with that as long as you check box number 4.
Yeah, to give guidance though on potential drive-in, potential virtual, to give guidance on any of that also means we'd be putting an official stake in the ground that it isn't happening in Wingfield. Beth, are you ready for us to be so vocal about that yet?
That you're not happening, and we're not doing any events in Wingfield Park. Alexis.
That's official. Okay.
Well, we're not doing any, and I can't speak on your behalf. But as Artown, I do not want to take on the liability in Wingfield Park of checking people's temperatures and making sure they're staying social distance. It's too big an area, and I am not in the industry of public health. Yep. And so I just don't think it's a good idea. Otherwise, we'd be doing our
makes total sense. I didn't realize way over here that was technically official yet. So if that's what's known, great, then we'll do the same. Perfect.
Okay. I would like, before we leave, I see that we've had Chris on the call, Chris Wagner, and I would like to hear from you as one of our partners who sends information out to the world on our behalf. And you're muted.
Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, guys. Anything in particular you're wondering about, Beth?
No, just do our partners, our arts partners, have an opportunity to reach out and work with you? I know you're primarily visual arts, but are you expanding that at all while we're going through all of this? And it's always wonderful. The more channels our artists have to have exposure and information shared by media, it's really hugely beneficial to everyone.
Excellent question. And yes. So here's what I'm involved in at the moment. I'm the editor of Double Scoop, which is a site that, think of it as an online magazine, if you haven't seen it, that covers visual arts all over Nevada. For that, I am interested in broadening the conversation a little bit over the next however long this lasts, talking with performing artists, talking about with the art scene in general. So yes, I'd welcome anybody to contact me anytime with news, with specific event news, and also with issues that you want to talk about, like issues around financing or around publicity. I know that everything's changed for all of you. So I'm always eager to have those conversations and keep them going and do some reporting on those things. So I'm also contributing to the Sierra Nevada Ally, which is a somewhat new online publication that covers all of Northern Nevada. And for them, I don't stick strictly to visual arts. So really any idea you have about regional culture, feel free to contact me about that anytime. I'll stick my email address in the comments in a minute. And we don't know what the situation is right now with Reno News and Review. It stopped publication. The Reno News and Review R&R Extra is online right now, and they've been publishing some news and some culture stories. If they continue, I'll continue contributing to them, but I don't know what the future holds for that project. But short answer, yes, I'm interested in any and all news and discussions.
Thank you so much. I see that Raquel has her hand up.
Pam wanted to speak again.
Oh, Pam? Do I need to unmute Pam? Hold on.
There, I'm unmuted again. I am a little confused about the web. I had thought when we were on the call last week that you were going to keep the web open and flexible so that we could change things as we went along. But now I'm hearing that you are we check a box and then we can't go back in and re-edit. So what, could you clarify, please, Jim?
That's actually, that's up to Oliver. I could make the system work either way. I think the decision is right now, once you submit it, they don't want people to just edit this. I mean, it is live on the website and they are liable for whatever information there is. Perhaps we could talk about a mechanism where you could submit a change and then Oliver could quickly approve it.
Yeah, no problem. The existing method is really still in play. When if you've already submitted your event and I've moved it to approval, in this case, when you've submitted, you can't change anything, but you can certainly send me changes that I can add on the back end. And those are never too voluminous or too inconvenient to do. And it helps fosters continuous communication with the presenter. So Pam, if you have something that, say you put in your protocols, but then there's an element that changes in June, we will do that on our end. We want to give thorough information for you, and we're not closed to you. That goes for Emily as well with Movies in the Park.
Okay, that's great because we don't know whether we're going to be in phase 2 or phase 3 or back in phase 1, and so what we put in, may need to be changed based on what happens.
You're right, and we want to accommodate those and be inclusive. There was another question on the thread on the chat that can people put in new Artown events? I don't want to be punitive, but we really want to be inclusive. And if you scrambled and didn't get into the April 15 deadline, it's your lucky year. Because but you're going to need to give a thorough fields and what you would have done in each field and cell. You'll need to have me give you a punch list because you're not going to have that at the ready. So I don't have a problem with that. There's probably going to be only a handful of people, but there has been some expressed interest in that.
Thank you, everyone. Raquel, do you have anything else that you want to communicate regarding nothing? Jim, anything else from you? You're good. And again, I'm extremely grateful to be a part of this community. We are the creatives and we are essential. In my book, we're essential. And the community is relying on all of us to come through in July, and we're going to do it. So I'm just going to let Oliver do the closing remarks. And again, we will have this again next week. And I really messed up on the date. So I don't know if you want to do it Wednesday or Thursday. What do you want to do, Oliver?
I like next week. This time it's a midweek touch base. We want to definitely spread the word. I think we've really had the overwhelming majority of presenters this year sound off on here, with 40 today at the peak and 81 at the peak last week. So thank you all. I think we have 127 events of presenters this year who are staying with us. So we're so excited about that. We want you to share the hashtag Artown and stay close to artown.org and to make sure that your events have details that you agree with once you see them live.
Great. And if you have any questions and you just didn't want to talk or put them in the chat, please don't hesitate to call the Artown office. We have a live human being. Mike is there in the office, and he can direct any calls to any one of us that you want to communicate with. You can also go through email to communicate with any of us. So I will set up the Zoom meeting next week. Huge thanks to every single one of you, and let's make this happen.
Thanks, everybody. Be well, stay safe, stay healthy.